Lyra Fen heard Alpha King Rowan Black call their love a mistake in front of the entire Silverhowl Bonding Court. He did not shout it. That would have been kinder. Rowan spoke calmly beneath the moon-silver arches, where every wolf-blooded house had gathered to watch him bind himself to chosen Luna Veyra Holt. "What happened between Lyra Fen and me was a weakness," he said. "A private error, a mistake that should never have been allowed to touch pack law." The court did not laugh. It did something worse. It accepted him. Lyra stood at the lower witness rail in a plain grey gown, her hands folded over the place where pain had lived for 2 years, a hidden ache that woke when Rowan's wolf grew restless, that burned when he looked at her across council rooms and chose silence. Veyra Holt lowered her lashes with perfect pity. "No woman should be shamed for confusing kindness with claim," she said. "Mistress Fen served the king during a difficult season, but service is not bond right." Lyra looked at her. "Do not dress cruelty in white and call it mercy." Lyra saw the man who had once gripped her hand in the old moon chamber and whispered, "If the bond breaks, stay with me until my wolf remembers my name." She had stayed, and when his wolf tried to tear itself loose from his name, the rupture had not broken cleanly. It had left part of his pulse under her skin, where no court ledger had ever been allowed to look. Now he stood beneath the bonding arch and let her become the mistake. "Lyra," he said too low. "No," she answered. "You do not get to make my name tender after making my love disgrace." Veyra stepped beside him in ceremonial white. "The court should proceed, Majesty. The moon bond cannot bless a throne while old confusion is allowed to bleed over the right." Old confusion. Lyra almost smiled. There were gentler names for being the hand that held a wolf back from ruin. The High Moon Witness lifted the silver bonding bowl. Inside it lay 2 pale threads of moonlight, one meant for Rowan, one meant for Veyra. The bowl did not bless desire. It measured lawful absence. A new lunar thread could only knot where no living rupture still held the king's wolf. If the threads were compatible, they would knot, brighten, and enter the pack ledger as lawful lunar claim. Rowan looked at Lyra one last time. It was his fear that broke her now, choosing the clean public story over the woman who had carried the ugly private truth. "Proceed," he said. The High Moon Witness dipped his fingers into the bowl. Moonlight rose like spun glass. Veyra offered her wrist first. The thread touched her skin and recoiled. A ripple moved through the court. Veyra's smile did not move. Ceremony nerves. The bond recognizes royal pressure. The witness frowned. The moon bond does not suffer nerves. Rowan's wolf growled beneath his skin. Lyra pressed her fingers against her hidden scar before she could stop herself. Veyra saw. Her eyes sharpened. Then she raised her voice with wounded dignity. "Perhaps the right is being disturbed by an unclean attachment. Mistress Fen should be removed before my bond is tested." The guards turned toward Lyra. Rowan did not move fast enough. That was the second betrayal. The pause. Lyra lifted her chin. "If your bond requires my absence to survive, Lady Holt, perhaps it was never strong enough to stand in moonlight." Veyra's face cooled. "You mistake pain for importance." "No," Lyra said. "I learned the difference from a man who made both private." Rowan flinched. The High Moon Witness lowered the bonding bowl. "Majesty?" Rowan's hand flexed at his side. "No one touches her yet." Yet. Lyra heard it clearly. A guarded word. A half-protection. A king still leaving himself a path back to reputation. The moon bond rose from the bowl without being called. Both threads twisted upward, silver turning dark at the edges. One snapped away from Veyra's wrist so sharply she cried out and clutched her hand. The second thread stretched across the court, not searching for a bride, but following the pulse Rowan had left unrecorded. The air went cold. Lyra stepped back once. The thread followed. "No," Veyra whispered. not afraid of magic, afraid of recognition. The thread touched Lyra's collarbone. Pain opened like a door. Silver light burned through the fabric of her grey gown, revealing a crescent scar beneath her left collarbone, half-healed, half-living, shaped like a broken moon tied to a wolf's pulse. Rowan went still. His wolf did not. It howled so violently the bonding arch cracked down its center. The High Moon witness stared at Lyra's scar, then at the ruined thread around Veyra's wrist. "That is not an old attachment," he said, his voice roughened. "That is an unclosed rupture." Lyra held herself upright while every eye in the court found the wound she had hidden to keep his wolf from madness. Rowan took one step toward her. She took one step back. The moon bond tightened around her scar and registered the rupture in silver light across the floor. Moon bond rupture. The moon bond rejected Veyra Holt's claim after detecting an unrecorded broken bond scar still carrying Rowan Black's wolf pulse beneath Lyra Fen's collarbone. The moon bond had not chosen Lyra Fen. It had found what Rowan Black had left inside her and never named. That was the first truth the Silverhowl Bonding Court tried not to understand. The silver light registered on the floor in thin, cold lines around Lyra's feet, circling the crescent scar beneath her collarbone without crowning her, blessing her, or calling her Luna. It only marked a rupture. Chosen Luna Veyra Holt recovered before the elders did. She drew her injured wrist close to her chest and let her voice tremble just enough. "Bond residue is not Luna right," she said. "A scar can mimic attachment. If Mistress Fen hid this for 2 years, the court should ask what she took from the king during his illness." Rowan's wolf growled again. This time, Rowan held it back. Lyra looked at him. "Ask what your wolf left, where your mouth now calls me mistake." The words struck harder than the broken arch. Rowan turned to the High Moon witness. "What pulse does the scar carry?" The witness knelt beside the silver floor mark, careful not to touch Lyra. "Alpha Wolf, pulse, Majesty, yours." Veyra's eyes widened with polished horror. "Or stolen from him." Lyra did not flinch. She had been called mistake in public. Stolen was only the next garment they wished to force over her wound. Rowan's jaw tightened. "Can it be forced or stolen?" The witness looked at the bowl. The 2 threads inside had gone dim except where one thin line still trembled toward Lyra's scar. Wolf pulse can be stolen by blood right, but stolen pulse burns cold and leaves bite marks. This scar carries pressure transfer, given under rupture, or taken during a break that never closed. "Do not bury that in words," Lyra said. "Read the scar before you read her wrist." Veyra lifted her chin. "Private care is not lawful claim. His Majesty's public denial should outweigh a wound she chose to conceal." "A public denial," Lyra said, "does not empty a wound that still carries his wolf." A low sound moved through the court. Not sympathy. Uncertainty. The first crack in a clean story. Rowan looked at the witness. "When was it made?" The witness held the silver thread over the scar without touching her skin. Moonlight darkened, then pulsed once in the rhythm of a wolf fighting itself. 2 years ago. On the night the king's wolf entered fracture fever. Lyra's hands closed at her sides. Rowan went still. No one in Silverhowl spoke of that night. They spoke of his recovery and strength. They did not speak of the wolf that had clawed through 3 doors beneath the old moon chamber and nearly forgot the man who carried it. Veyra spoke softly. "Many attended him that night." Lyra looked at her. "Not many stayed when he forgot his name." Rowan's face changed. Too late, but changed. "Can a wolf pulse remain after a bond is publicly denied?" he asked. "Yes," the witness said. "Speech can deny claim. It cannot close rupture." The moon bond tightened one silver line across the floor, not toward Lyra's hand, but toward the pack ledger stand. Rowan saw it. "Can a new Luna thread knot while a rupture is unrecorded?" "No, Majesty. The bowl measures lawful absence. If the king's wolf pulse remains in an unclosed scar, no new Luna claim is safe." Veyra stepped forward. Then record contamination and continue. If Mistress Fen carried something unregistered, she broke law by hiding it. Lyra laughed once, small and tired. Ask why the court accepts a clean story more easily than a living wound. Rowan did not look away from her. Why was this never entered into the pack ledger? The ledger keeper at the lower dais turned pale. No rupture report was filed, Majesty. Who had authority to file it? The attending moon healers, the Alpha King, or the lunar candidate if one witnessed bond danger? Veyra's fingers tightened around her white sleeve. Not enough for guilt. Enough for notice. Rowan saw. So did Lyra. But she would not chase that thread yet. Part of surviving Silverhowl was knowing when proof had not caught up with truth. Who knew she carried it? Rowan asked. The witness looked at Lyra. The scar has been shielded. I cannot answer from the bond alone. Veyra seized on it. Shielded. Concealed. Majesty, this proves she manipulated sympathy. Lyra turned to Rowan. Ask whether silence breaks a bond or only hides the damage. Rowan repeated it quietly. The witness answered, Silence hides damage. It does not end it. The moon bond flickered once, and the ledger line remained open. Rowan took another step toward Lyra. She stepped back before he could make remorse look like protection. Did I leave that wound? He asked. The witness bowed his head. Your wolf pulse is inside it. Until the old rupture is named, your new lunar claim cannot lawfully bind. Lyra held Rowan's stare and did not soften. Then name the record, she said. The witness turned to the pack ledger as silver light settled over the empty rupture line. Broken bond record. Lyra Fen's scar carried an unrecorded fragment of Rowan Black's wolf pulse, proving his new lunar claim could not lawfully bind until the old rupture was named. Veyra Holt did not deny that the rupture was unrecorded. She denied that an empty ledger could accuse the court. The law cannot be held hostage by a missing line, she said, standing beneath the cracked bonding arch with her white sleeve drawn over the rejected wrist. No ledger entry means no lawful rupture. Mistress Fen's wound may be painful, but private pain does not outrank a royal right. Lyra Fen stood at the lower rail, while the silver floor mark remained open around her scar. It did not brighten for her. It did not name her lunar. It waited beside the pack ledger like a question no one wanted written. Alpha King Rowan Black looked from the ledger to Lyra's collarbone. His wolf had stopped growling. That was worse. A silent wolf was listening. Bring the fracture. Fever attendance roll, Rowan said. Veyra's expression stayed gentle. Majesty, revisiting a fever chamber before the court may humiliate everyone who cared for you. Lyra looked at her. It already humiliated the woman who survived it. A ledger keeper hurried forward with a narrow moonhide register. Rowan asked, Who was present during my fracture fever? The keeper read, High Moon Witness Alder, Moon Healer Sarah Vale, Moon Healer Pellin, Lyra Fen, listed as night attendant, chosen lunar candidate Veyra Holt, admitted after second bell by council permission. Veyra lowered her eyes. I came because the court feared for you. Lyra's voice stayed calm. Then you stood close enough to see what fear left behind. Rowan did not look at the elders. Who had duty to file a rupture report? The High Moon Witness answered. Any healer who observed bond transfer, the Alpha King, once conscious, or any lunar candidate who witnessed bond danger. Was a scar inspection performed? The ledger keeper turned a page. No scar inspection entered, Majesty. Veyra lifted her chin. Because moon healers may have found no reportable rupture, fracture fever produces unstable traces. False readings happen when a wolf is near madness. Lyra looked at the blank line. Read the blank line. The keeper swallowed. Rupture report. None filed. Again, Lyra said. The keeper looked to Rowan. Rowan's face hardened. Read it. Rupture report. None filed. For 2 years, Lyra had carried pain the court could not insult because it had never allowed the pain to exist on paper. Rowan's voice dropped. Can a rupture exist without ledger entry? The High Moon Witness answered, Yes, Majesty. The body may carry what the ledger refuses. Veyra moved at once. Refuses is a dangerous word. Ledgers do not refuse. People fail to submit. Mistress Fen concealed the scar. Lyra turned to Rowan. Ask whether the ledger forgot me or was told not to remember. Veyra's smile sharpened. Accusation without proof. No, Lyra said. A question with teeth. Rowan looked at the attendance roll. Were the moon healers dismissed from the chamber? The keeper checked the margin. At third bell, Majesty. The note says the king's wolf became too violent for ordinary healing presence. Who remained? The keeper read more quietly. Lyra Fen remained. High Moon Witness Alder remained outside the inner moon door. Chosen lunar candidate Veyra Holt remained in outer witness position. Veyra spread one hand. Outer, not inner. I could not see what happened. Lyra looked at her. Then do not speak as if you know what did not. A silver line on the floor shifted toward the pack ledger and stopped at the empty rupture column. Not toward Lyra. Toward absence. Rowan saw it. Can the ledger be silent if the scar still carries my pulse? The High Moon Witness touched the ledger's edge. It can be silent only because no report was entered, Majesty. The moon bond is showing conflict between living evidence and lawful record. Veyra answered smoothly. Then test contamination before you let a wound ruin a crown. The court cannot punish a clean claim because of an empty record. Lyra's hands folded over her scar. Ask who benefits if silence becomes law. Rowan looked at Veyra. Not accusation. Not yet. But the first careful placement of suspicion. Veyra met his gaze without blinking. Lyra felt no satisfaction. Suspicion was not justice. It was only the door before justice. Rowan turned back to the ledger keeper. Was any rupture entry filed later? No, Majesty. Any amended healer note? No. Any sealed report? No sealed report in the pack archive. The High Moon Witness lowered his head. The ledger holds no rupture for Lyra Fen. Rowan looked at Lyra as if the court had finally put a shape around the space he had asked her to disappear into. She stepped back before his regret could cross it. Do not look at me as if absence surprised you, she said. You lived inside it when it protected your throne. The moon bond kept the rupture line open, cold and silver, beside the empty ledger column. Rowan closed his hand around the edge of the stand. Read the omission. The ledger keeper bowed over the pack ledger, while the court watched the blank line fail to defend itself. Ledger omission record. The Silverhowl pack ledger contained no record of Rowan Black's broken bond rupture with Lyra Fen, although her scar still carried his wolf pulse. The ledger omission proved the rupture had been left unwritten. It did not prove who had failed to look at Lyra Fen's scar. That was where Veyra Holt placed her next wall. No scar inspection was required, she said, calm beneath the cracked bonding arch. Mistress Fen was listed as night attendant, not bond participant. A servant's private injury cannot halt a royal lunar claim. Lyra stood beside the open pack ledger, while the moon bond held one cold silver line over the empty rupture column. It did not reach for her hand. It did not brighten her name. It waited where no report had been filed. Alpha King Rowan Black looked at the attendance roll again. Who had authority to order a scar inspection? High Moon Witness Alder answered. The attending healers, the Alpha King once conscious, or the senior witness in the chamber. Veyra folded her injured wrist against her white gown. The healers were dismissed before formal rupture observation. Fracture fever makes scar readings unstable. No one had reason to inspect a night attendant's collarbone for lunar rupture. Lyra looked at Rowan. Ask why the wound was easier to ignore when it was on my body. Rowan's jaw tightened, but he did not make the sentence gentle for himself. Was Lyra examined after leaving the chamber? The ledger keeper turned pages of the Moonhide register. No examination entered, Majesty. Was she listed as injured? No. Lyra's mouth curved without warmth. How clean the night must have looked on paper. Veyra answered softly. If you were injured, Mistress Fen, you concealed it. Lyra turned to her. I bled through 2 sleeves before dawn. Concealment has better posture than that. Rowan's wolf stirred under his skin, a low pressure that made the silver bowls tremble. Rowan held himself still. Too late to protect the woman then. Too careful to claim protection now. Who escorted her out? He asked. The ledger keeper swallowed. Outer chamber attendants recorded her departure alone. No escort, no maestu. Veyra's lashes lowered. Many attendants leave alone after night service. Exhaustion is not evidence. Ask who marked my service complete, Lyra said. Rowan repeated it. The keeper looked down. Service completion mark, entered by Luna, candidate witness. Rowan looked at Veyra. Veyra met him with measured sorrow. I certified that her assigned service ended. I did not certify her body uninjured. That was healer duty. Lyra nodded once. Then, ask why no healer duty returned to the woman left with your wolf. Rowan's face tightened around the words, your wolf. Were night attendants required to report bond wounds? He asked. A moon healer near the east column stepped forward. Any person injured by bond pressure should be examined before departure. Should, Lyra said. The healer lowered his eyes. Yes. Was that done? No record, Majesty. Veyra's voice sharpened only slightly. Absence of inspection is negligence at most. It does not create lawful claim. The court cannot elevate a servant's uninspected scar above the chosen lunar rite. Lyra looked at the bonding bowl. I am not asking to be elevated. I am asking why I was reduced until the wound could disappear. The moon bond flickered once at the ledger column, not toward Lyra, toward the missing wound note. Rowan looked at the healer. Did any healer see blood at her collarbone? The healer's throat moved. I did not. I had been ordered out before the rupture event. Ordered by whom? Veyra stepped in before the healer could answer. Majesty, many commands were shouted that night. Your wolf was in fracture fever. The chamber was unsafe. To treat every confused order as conspiracy would dishonor those who kept you alive. Lyra's eyes stayed on Rowan. Ask who closed the chamber before anyone named what happened. Rowan held her gaze. Pain moved there. She refused to carry it for him. Not again. Who sealed the inner moon door? He asked. The ledger keeper read the margin. Seal entered by council permission after third bell. Witnessed by Veyra Holt in outer position. Veyra spread her hands. Outer witness. Again. I did not see inside. No, Lyra said. You only signed the door that kept others from seeing. The line landed cleanly, but not conclusively. Lyra knew the difference. Veyra still had room. She still had law, titles, and incomplete proof. Rowan looked back at the register. Who decided she was only a night attendant? The keeper hesitated. Read it, Rowan said. Classification entered before dawn. Night attendant. Service complete. No bond standing. Lyra's scar burned under her gown. For 2 years, that phrase had done what no knife needed to do. It had made her sacrifice small enough to ignore. She looked at Rowan. Ask who made service smaller than sacrifice. He did not repeat it. Perhaps he could not. Instead, he said, read the inspection. Omission. The ledger keeper bowed over the attendance roll, empty wound note, and open rupture line, while the moon bond held its cold silver mark beside the blank inspection column. Scar inspection, omission. No scar inspection or injury note was entered for Lyra Fen after Rowan Black's fracture fever, although she remained in the moon chamber after the healers were dismissed and later carried his wolf pulse. The scar inspection omission proved no one had recorded Lyra's wound. It did not yet prove how the wound had been made small enough to ignore. Veyra Holt understood the danger of that question before the elders did. She stood beneath the cracked bonding arch with her rejected wrist hidden in white silk and gave the court a sorrowful look. Service complete does not certify body condition, she said. Mistress Fen's duty ended before dawn. That is all the classification means. Lyra Fen stood beside the open pack ledger, while the moon bond kept its silver line over the blank inspection column. It did not reach for her. It did not brighten her name. It waited beside the words that had made her harmless on paper. Night attendant. Service complete. No bond standing. Alpha King Rowan Black read them once, then again. His face tightened, as if the record had put teeth into every word he had used to shame her. Who entered the service? Complete mark, he asked. The ledgerkeeper bent over the moonhide register. Lunar candidate witness, Majesty. Veyra lifted her chin. I confirmed her assigned duty ended. The healers were responsible for wounds. Lyra looked at Rowan. Read the words they used to make me harmless. Rowan's fingers pressed against the ledger stand. Read the full line. The keeper swallowed. Before dawnbell. Lyra Fen, night attendant. Service complete. No bond standing. Released from chamber duty. Veyra spoke gently. No bond standing means no lawful claim existed. No one could classify a servant as bond participant without proof. Was scar inspection entered before or after that mark? Rowan asked. No scar inspection was entered, Majesty. Was an injury note entered before or after it? No injury note entered. Lyra's voice came quiet. Ask whether service complete can close a wound no one examined. Rowan repeated it. The High Moon witness looked at the register, then at the scar beneath Lyra's collarbone. No, Majesty. Service completion ends assigned duty. It cannot close bond injury, rupture risk, or wolf pulse transfer. Veyra's expression did not break. Then it is an administrative gap, not a conspiracy. Mistress Fen left without reporting pain. Lyra turned toward her. I bled through 2 sleeves and walked alone past 3 witness lamps. If no one saw me, it was because no one wanted sight to become duty. A guard at the lower rail looked down. Rowan saw that too. He did not use it. He stayed with the page. Who classified her as no bond standing? The keeper glanced at Veyra, then back to the ledger. Classification copied from Lunar candidate witness note. Veyra answered at once. Because she was night attendant. Because no rupture had been reported. Because the court cannot invent bond standing from grief. Lyra looked at the silver line on the ledger. Ask whether no bond standing was discovered or decided. Rowan asked it. The High Moon witness took longer this time. If no inspection was made, it was decided from status, not discovered from examination. The words landed, with a clean, quiet cruelty. For 2 years, Lyra had been made small by a category chosen before anyone asked what her body carried. Rowan looked at her. She stepped back before his regret could ask her to share its weight. Could no bond standing prevent a rupture report? He asked. Yes, the witness said. If a person is recorded as having no bond standing, later ledger search would not look for rupture under her name unless a healer filed separate injury notice. Was the classification sent to the pack ledger? Yes, Majesty, the keeper said. It became the standing entry for Lyra Fen after fracture fever. Veyra spread one hand. Then the ledger did what law required. It followed the only record submitted. Lyra's mouth curved faintly. Law followed the first person who made my body easier to file than to face. Rowan's wolf stirred. Deep enough for the silver bowl to tremble. Lyra did not look at the bowl. She looked at the page. Did anyone ask Lyra whether she was injured? Rowan asked. The keeper turned one page. Another. No question entered, Majesty. Veyra's voice cooled. We are not required to question every attendant after a fever night. Lyra looked at Rowan. Ask who had authority to reduce a bond witness to night attendant. The court stiffened at the phrase bond witness. Veyra's eyes narrowed. She was not a bond witness. No, Lyra said. That was the point. Rowan turned to the High Moon witness. Who had that authority? No one, the witness said slowly. If wolf, pulse, transfer occurred before release, a person carrying the Alpha's rupture should have been held for examination before any service classification. The moon bond flickered once, not toward Lyra, toward the service line that had sealed her outside the rupture ledger. Rowan closed his eyes. When he opened them, shame stood there. Lyra refused to receive it. "Read the classification," she said. The ledger keeper bowed over the service line. Empty injury note and open rupture mark. Service classification record. Lyra Fen was classified before dawn as night attendant, service complete and no bond standing, although no scar inspection or injury note had been entered after she remained with Rowan Black's fractured wolf. The service classification proved Lyra Fen had been filed small before dawn. It did not yet show what she had carried out of the chamber. That was the question Alpha King Rowan Black finally forced the court to face, though he looked as if each answer would cut through the throne he had chosen over her. Chosen Luna Veyra Holt stood beside the cracked arch, with her white gown untouched, except for the dark bruise around her rejected wrist. "Burden is not bond, right?" she said. "Even if Mistress Fen absorbed unstable pressure, that does not make her Luna. Fever rooms are full of accidents. Sacrifice is not a crown." Lyra looked at her. "I never asked for a crown. I asked why my pain was useful only when it kept him sane." Rowan's wolf gave one low, wounded sound beneath his skin. The moon bond did not move toward Lyra. It kept its silver line open between the service classification and the rupture mark, waiting for the missing middle to be named. Rowan turned to High Moon Witness Alder. "What happens to a king's wolf when a broken bond ruptures during fracture fever?" Alder's face tightened. "If no second vessel takes the pressure, the wolf may lose name recognition. It can become all hunger, no memory." A fan lowered. A stylus stopped. An elder gripped the rail. Rowan's voice dropped. "Was I losing name recognition?" The witness looked at the attendant's roll. "The chamber notes say your wolf failed to answer to Rowan Black after third bell." Veyra answered softly. "Many wolves fail to answer under fever." Lyra turned to Rowan. "Ask why yours remembered after my scar opened." His eyes found hers. She did not give him comfort. He asked anyway. "Did my wolf stabilize after Lyra was wounded?" Alder set the moonhide register beside the open ledger. "Yes, Majesty. Fever violence reduced after third bell. Wolf pulse stabilized before dawn." Veyra's mouth tightened. "Correlation, not proof." "No," Lyra said. "Then read the pulse sequence." Alder lifted the bonding bowl. One dim thread rose and hovered above Lyra's collarbone without touching her skin. The silver floor mark divided into two measures, one near Rowan, one near Lyra. "This is not claim knotting," Alder said. "It is burden reading. The moon bond is measuring where the rupture weight settled." Rowan stared at the divided light. "How much?" Alder swallowed. "Half." The word did not strike Lyra. She had lived under it for 2 years. Half the nights awake when Rowan's wolf paced. Half the pain when he fought down rage. Half the scar hidden under cloth while he stood clean before councils and called their love weakness. Veyra lifted her chin. If she carried half, she chose concealment. The court cannot reward a woman for hiding royal damage. Lyra's laugh was almost soundless. "Reward, Lady Holt? I carried madness, not jewelry." Rowan flinched. "Good. Let the word touch him." "Can half-bond burden be forced?" he asked. Alder answered carefully. "Not without blood violence, and blood violence leaves tearing marks. Mistress Fen's scar shows pressure acceptance during rupture. It means the wolf pulse entered because she stayed within reach when the king's wolf was breaking." Veyra moved quickly. "Acceptance is not consent to bond standing. A servant can catch a falling blade without becoming the hand that owns it." Lyra looked at her. "A servant can also bleed while everyone praises the person who did not fall." Rowan closed his hand around the ledger edge until the moonhide bent. "Did her burden keep my wolf from madness?" "Yes, Majesty," Alder said. "Without a second vessel, your wolf would likely have broken name recognition before dawn." The words stripped the court of its clean story. Lyra had not confused kindness with claim. She had carried the consequence Rowan survived. Rowan took one step toward her. She stepped back first. "Do not make survival into tenderness now," she said. "You called the thing that saved you a mistake." His face went pale. No apology came. Veyra's voice remained sharp but controlled. "Even if this burden existed, no record proves she was asked to carry it. No record proves lawful consent. Until consent is established, the rite should treat the scar as unresolved contamination." Lyra looked at Rowan. "Ask whether the court needed my consent when my body was the only thing between your wolf and ruin." Rowan's jaw worked once. "Was consent recorded?" "No, Majesty." Alder said. "Was refusal recorded?" "No." "Was the burden recorded at all?" "No." The moon bond flickered at the empty ledger column. Not toward Lyra. Toward the place where sacrifice should have been named before shame was allowed to stand in its place. Rowan looked at the blank record, then at Lyra. For the first time since the rite began, his voice broke around the edge. "I survived because of you." Lyra held his stare. "No," she said. "You survived because I stayed. Do not make that sound like love until you can say what you did with it afterward." The High Moon witness bowed over the divided silver measure. Half-bond burden record. Lyra Fen carried half of Rowan Black's broken bond beneath her collarbone, stabilizing his fractured wolf, while no lawful record named her sacrifice. The court learned what Lyra Fen had carried. Then it tried to decide what she owed. That was the oldest cruelty in Silverhowl. Once a woman's sacrifice became useful, someone always tried to make it duty. Chosen Luna Veyra Holt stepped beneath the cracked bonding arch, with her injured wrist hidden against her white gown. If Mistress Fen carried a burden attached to His Majesty's wolf, then the safest course is immediate restoration under court supervision. The bond can be stabilized, the rite delayed, and the kingdom spared further damage. Lyra looked at her. "You mean put the pain back where it was useful?" Veyra's face softened. "I mean protect the Alpha King." "Funny," Lyra said. "No one called it protection when I was the one bleeding." Rowan Black stood beside the open ledger, one hand pressed against his chest as if his wolf had begun pacing behind his ribs. The silver measure in the bonding bowl had dimmed, but the line between him and Lyra still trembled with unclosed pressure. "Can restoration be forced?" Rowan asked. High Moon Witness Alder answered carefully. "Not lawfully. A burden vessel may choose continued binding, release, or formal closure. Without consent, restoration becomes seizure." Veyra's eyes flashed. She was not a lawful burden vessel. She was classified no bond standing. Lyra turned to Rowan. "Ask whether the court can use that classification now that it has failed." Rowan repeated it, voice rough. Alder looked at the service record, the scar mark, and the open rupture line. "No, Majesty. The classification cannot erase living burden, but neither can burden create automatic claim. Consent must be entered before any repair." The word consent moved through the court like a blade being passed hand to hand. For 2 years, no one had asked what Lyra had chosen after the rupture. They had only used the silence that followed. Rowan looked at her then, not as king first, not as wolf first, as the man who had survived and then called survival shame. "Lyra," he said, "what do you choose?" The question hurt worse because it was nearly right. Nearly was not enough. She looked at the silver line on the floor. "I choose to stop carrying unnamed damage." The moon bond flickered, not toward her, toward the ledger space where consent should have been written. Veyra stepped forward. "Majesty, if she releases burden now, your wolf may destabilize. She knows that. This is coercion dressed as dignity." Lyra's breath went cold. There it was. A woman refusing pain became dangerous. A woman accepting pain became useful. She looked at the court. "Hear her clearly. When I carried it, I was contamination. When I release it, I am threat." Several elders lowered their eyes. Rowan did not. His wolf, growled low, then broke into a sound that was almost a whine. Alder turned sharply. Name. Recognition is slipping. Rowan's jaw clenched. I am Rowan Black. The silver bowls trembled. His wolf did not answer. Lyra felt the pull under her scar, instinctive and terrible. For 2 years, she had answered that pull before thought. Pain came, she steadied it. His wolf shook. She held. Not this time. She stepped out of the claim circle. The silver line stretched between them and thinned. Rowan doubled one hand against the ledger stand. A guard moved toward Lyra, as if her leaving were attack. Rowan's head lifted. No one stops her. The command cracked. It was the strongest protection he had given her yet. Still not enough. Lyra did not turn back. Do not make this noble. You are only refusing to cage me after learning the lock had teeth, Veyra said. If he fractures, the court will remember you walked away. Lyra stopped at the lower stair. Good. Let them also remember who called my staying a mistake. Rowan's face tightened, but he did not defend himself. That mattered. Not as forgiveness. As the first sign he understood, defense would insult her now. Alder bent over the bonding bowl. Majesty, the rupture is rebounding. The old burden is not closed. It is withdrawing from unrecorded hold. If Lyra Fen leaves without consent record, your wolf pulse returns unstable. Veyra seized on it. Then order the consent record. Lyra laughed once. Listen to yourself. Rowan looked at Veyra then, fully. No, the single word cut cleaner than anger. Veyra still. Rowan looked back at Lyra. His eyes were dark with pain, but he kept it on his side of the room. You do not owe my wolf another breath, he said. Lyra closed her hand over the collar of her torn grey gown. That is the first true thing you have said today. Then she walked beyond the witness rail, out from under the cracked bonding arch, and into the moonlit corridor outside the court. Behind her, Rowan whispered his own name again. This time, his wolf did not answer. The high moon witness lowered his head over the open ledger as the silver line flickered between empty consent and returning fracture. Rupture rebound record. When Lyra Fen refused automatic restoration and left the claim circle, Rowan Black's fractured wolf began losing name recognition again because the old rupture remained unrecorded and unclosed. Rowan Black did not follow Lyra Fen into the corridor. His wolf wanted him to. The man stayed where the damage had been done. That was the first repair he could make without stealing another choice from her. The Silverhowl Bonding Court stood in silence. The cracked arch trembled above Rowan's head. The bonding bowl gave off a weak, irregular pulse. Silver one moment and shadowed the next, as if his wolf were trying to remember the shape of its own name and finding only torn edges. Veyra Holt moved first. Majesty, she said, soft with warning. Your condition is worsening. Mistress Fen has left the claim circle. The court must authorize emergency stabilization. Rowan gripped the ledger stand until his knuckles whitened. No, the kingdom cannot be placed beneath one woman's refusal. The kingdom was already placed on her silence, he said. Veyra's face held. Only her eyes sharpened. High Moon Witness Alder looked at Rowan with open caution. Majesty, if your wolf loses name recognition again, you may not be able to command the court. Then record while I still can. Alder lowered his head. What record do you order? Rowan looked at the open lines. Rupture absent. Scar inspection absent. Injury note absent. Service classification. Clean enough to erase blood. Each blank had protected him. Each blank had helped him stand beneath the arch and call Lyra's love a mistake. His wolf snarled at the word. Mistake. The bowl cracked along its rim. Enter suspension of the lunar rite. Veyra went still. Majesty. Rowan did not look at her. The chosen lunar rite is suspended until Lyra Fen's rupture, injury, burden, and refusal are entered into lawful record. Veyra stepped closer. Suspension implies fault before proof. Suspension implies danger before binding, Rowan said. The moon bond has already shown that much. Lyra was not there to hear it. That was proper. He did not get to repair himself by performing regret in front of the woman he had wounded. Alder turned a page in the pack ledger. Do you also enter restoration refusal? Yes. Lyra Fen refused automatic restoration. No one will treat that refusal as treason, coercion, contamination, or threat. Veyra's lips parted. If your wolf fractures because she withdrew, the council will demand cause. Then give them mine. Alder waited. Rowan forced himself to speak clearly. Cause. Alpha King Rowan Black attempted a new lunar claim, while an old broken bond rupture remained unrecorded inside Lyra Fen's body. The court inhaled. Veyra recovered quickly. That is incomplete. It suggests intent where there may have been ignorance. Rowan turned to her then. Ignorance does not become innocence because it wore a crown. Her expression softened for the court. You are ill. Pain is speaking. No, Rowan said. Pain spoke when I called her a mistake because I wanted a clean throne. The silence after that was worse than outrage. It was recognition. His wolf answered his name once beneath his skin, faint and broken. Rowan Black, not enough. But there, Alder wrote, his silver stylus cutting light into the ledger. Do you enter personal responsibility? I enter legal responsibility, Rowan said. Personal words belong first to Lyra, if she ever chooses to hear them. The court gets law. That saved him from making apology another public theft. Veyra's voice lowered. Majesty, if you weaken yourself before hostile houses, you invite challenge. I weakened the throne by building it over an unnamed wound. Alder looked up. What of the burden record? Rowan's chest tightened. Enter that Lyra Fen carried half my broken bond for 2 years without lawful title, protection, injury record, consent record, or restoration right. And her current standing? Rowan looked at the lower rail where she had stood. Not Luna, not servant, not mistake. Unresolved bond burden witness, he said. No claim may be made on her body. No claim may be made through her silence. Veyra's hand closed around her bruised wrist. You are giving her power over the throne. No, Rowan said. I am returning power over herself. The moon bond flickered. Not toward Lyra. She was beyond the court now. The silver line moved from the empty consent column to the new suspension entry, and held there, steady for the first time since the rite began. Alder bowed over the ledger. The record accepts suspension. Rowan's wolf exhaled inside him, still unstable, still wounded, but no longer reaching toward the corridor. Rowan looked at the doorway Lyra had passed through. He wanted to go after her. He did not. Wand had done enough damage when dressed as right. Send no guards, he said. Send no healers unless she asks. Send no message that demands answer. Veyra stared at him. And if she never returns? Rowan swallowed the pain before it became performance. Then the record will still stand. The High Moon witness pressed the silver stylus into the ledger's open line. Rite suspension record. Rowan Black suspended the chosen lunar rite and entered legal responsibility for Lyra Fen's unrecorded rupture, burden, refusal, and consent rights without restoring the bond or reclaiming her. Lyra Fen returned to the Silverhowl Bonding Court because no guard came for her. No command, no healer, no royal message wrapped in concern and sharpened into duty. Only the open door remained, and beyond it, the court that had learned to write what it once preferred to leave inside women's bodies. She entered beneath her own feet. The silver line in the pack ledger brightened when she crossed the threshold. It did not reach for her hand. It did not climb her throat. It waited at the consent column Rowan Black had ordered opened in her absence. Chosen Luna Veyra Holt saw the court turn. Her smile was ready before their whispers were. Mistress Fen, she said gently, I am relieved you returned before His Majesty's condition worsened. Lyra stopped at the lower rail. I returned before your sentence could become history. Veyra's eyes cooled. The record is not a weapon. No, Lyra said. That is why it frightened you. Rowan stood beside the ledger, pale but upright. His wolf watched from behind his eyes, unstable and silent but not reaching for her. He bowed his head once, not to claim her, to acknowledge that she had come by choice. Lyra did not reward him for knowing how not to command. High Moon Witness Older lifted the silver stylus. Lyra Fen, the court has entered right suspension and legal responsibility. Do you wish to confirm restoration refusal? Veyra stepped forward. Careful. A refusal can be made under anger. It should not bind the kingdom. Lyra looked at the witness. Enter that anger does not erase consent. Older wrote. The moon bond flickered at the consent column. Not toward Lyra, toward the sentence. Veyra's hand tightened. If you refuse restoration, you leave the king's wolf unstable. If I accept restoration without record, I become the old silence with cleaner handwriting. Rowan's face tightened, but he stayed quiet. Good. Lyra turned to the ledger. Enter that no restoration may be offered until the court names what is being restored. Burden, bond, rupture, duty, or damage. Older paused. That is a standing claim. Veyra seized the words. There. She makes claim at last. Lyra looked at her. Not to the throne. To myself. The court stilled. Lyra reached to the collar of her torn grey gown and pulled the fabric aside until the crescent scar lay visible beneath moonlight. She did not expose it for pity. She exposed it because they had hidden behind not seeing. This scar carried half his broken bond, she said. It kept his wolf from madness. It was filed as service complete. It was treated as no bond standing. It was called contamination when it became inconvenient and protection when I walked away. I claim the right to name what happened to my body before anyone names what my body owes. The moon bond answered with one clean pulse. The consent column opened wider. Veyra's voice sharpened. A burden witness cannot dictate royal law. Older looked down at the ledger. By moonbond statute, a living burden vessel may deny, delay, define, or close restoration before any crown-related claim proceeds. Veyra went still for half a breath. Lyra saw it. Not guilt yet. A gap. Rowan saw it too, but he did not lunge toward accusation. He had learned, perhaps, that proof did not become stronger because a king wanted it faster. Lyra looked at him. Do you understand what I am choosing? Rowan swallowed. You are choosing record before repair. No, Lyra said. I am choosing myself before either. The words struck him harder than anger would have. His wolf gave a broken, low answer. Rowan held it back. I accept that, he said. Veyra turned to the elders. You hear him? He yields royal stability to a woman who admits she can delay repair. Lyra looked at the elders too. I can delay seizure. Repair requires truth. The oldest counselor rose slowly. If she holds choice, right, then the lunar rite cannot resume until her record is complete. Older bowed. Correct. Veyra's mouth became a thin, beautiful line. And if she never permits restoration? Lyra answered before Rowan could. Then he will have to survive without making me invisible again. The silver line in the ledger moved. For the first time, it touched Lyra's written name. Not as Luna, not as servant, as holder of consent. The court watched the category change. Unresolved bond burden witness. Choice right holder. No claim through silence. Rowan looked at the words as if they had finally created a door he could not walk through unless she opened it. Lyra looked back at him. This is not forgiveness. I know, he said. She believed him only because he did not ask for more. High Moon Witness Older pressed the stylus into the open consent column. Choice right record. Lyra Fen returned to the Silverhowl Bonding Court as unresolved bond burden witness and claimed the right to define, refuse, delay, or close restoration before any lunar claim or repair could be made through her body. The court had written Lyra Fen's choice at last. Now it had to read the lie that made Veyra Holt's claim look clean. High Moon Witness Alder turned the pack ledger to the chosen lunar compatibility rite. The page had been prepared before sunrise, before the court gathered, before Rowan Black stood beneath the arch and called love a mistake with a king's calm mouth. Veyra moved at once. Compatibility rights are private crown records. Lyra stood beside the consent column with her scar uncovered. Not when they require my silence. Rowan looked at Alder. Read the foundation of Veyra Holt's compatibility. Alder's stylus hovered over the page. Foundation. Alpha King, free of living lunar bond, free of registered rupture, free of active burden vessel, prior attachment publicly denied before knotting. The court went still. Prior attachment publicly denied. Rowan's face emptied. Lyra did not look away from him. There it was. Not accident. Not ceremony nerves. A sentence written before he spoke, waiting for him to obey it. Veyra lifted her chin. A formal denial is common when private rumors threaten a royal right. No, Lyra said. Common cruelty is still chosen. Rowan's hand tightened around the ledger. Who submitted that condition? Alder read the witness line. Chosen lunar candidate Veyra Holt. Veyra's voice sharpened. I submitted lawful protection. His Majesty had been surrounded by whispers. A clean right required clean language. Lyra's laugh held no humor. Clean language. That is what you call making him say I was shame. Rowan turned to Veyra. Did you know the denial was required by your right? Yes, Veyra said, because denial was impossible now. I knew the court required separation from old confusion. Not the court, Alder said quietly. This condition is candidate. Submitted. The silver line in the ledger brightened. Not toward Lyra, toward Veyra's signature. A second attached strip of moon hide loosened from the compatibility page. It had been sealed under white wax, the color of ceremonial purity. Alder broke it. Veyra's composure finally cracked. That note is advisory. Read it, Lyra said. Alder read. Residual wolf. Pulse may remain with night attendant Lyra Fen after fracture fever classification. No bond standing entered. Public denial advised before lunar knotting to collapse unresolved attachment. The court inhaled as one body. Lyra felt the words pass through her without entering. They had already lived inside her for 2 years. Rowan stared at Veyra. You knew. Veyra recovered enough to stand straight. I knew she clung to you. I knew a wound can become ambition when fed by pity. You knew she carried my wolf pulse, Rowan said. I knew she was dangerous to the throne. Lyra stepped between his anger and her own justice, before Rowan could make rage look like repair. No, she said. Let the record answer her, not your fury. Rowan stopped. That was new. He stopped because she asked. Alder pressed the silver stylus to the attached strip. The compatibility right relied on Lyra Fen's no-bond-standing classification and a public denial designed to collapse unresolved attachment before her rupture was examined. Veyra's beauty hardened into something bare. Without me, the court would have let a servant scar rule the Alpha King. Lyra looked at her. Without you, perhaps a servant's wound would have been red before a king's pride was fed. The moonbond rose from the bowl one final time. It did not crown Lyra. It did not reach for Rowan. It circled the false compatibility line and split it apart, thread by thread, until Veyra's prepared lunar knot fell into silver ash. Alder lowered his head. The chosen lunar rite is void. Veyra stepped back as if ash could bite. You cannot leave the throne unstable, Lyra answered. The throne was unstable when it needed my erasure to stand. Rowan looked at Lyra then, with pain he no longer offered her to carry. Before the whole court, he bowed his head. I called our love A mistake to protect my reputation, he said. Not truth, not law, reputation. The words cut him. They did not heal her, but they finally stood where the lie had stood. He lifted his eyes. I loved you, and I let that love become shame when witnesses were easier than courage. Lyra's throat tightened. She hated that truth could hurt even when she had demanded it. Do you want love? She asked. Or absolution? Rowan's wolf stirred, weak but listening. Love, he said. If one day freely given. Absolution, no. I have not earned it. Lyra looked at the scar beneath her collarbone, then at the open ledger. Then record this. Restoration is not granted today. The rupture will be held open until every hidden line is read, every service mark corrected, and every consent right protected. After that, I will decide what remains between us. Alder wrote. Rowan accepted it without flinching. That was not forgiveness, but it was a beginning that did not ask her to disappear. The moon bond settled over the ledger, steady and cold as lawful moonlight. Public reversal record. Veyra Holt's chosen lunar compatibility right was voided after the court confirmed it relied on Lyra Fen's false no-bond standing classification and Rowan Black's public denial of an unexamined rupture.